Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Doctor Who review. Today is New Year's Day, so I'm a little bit scruffy. I'm not really, the hair's a mess, it is what it is. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to the channel. This is my review of Eve of the Daleks, talking about the latest episode which just dropped tonight, and one of Jodie's last specials for Doctor Who, which is quite exciting. So yeah, let's talk about that. This episode has a lot going for it and a lot going on during it. Ups and downs for me, personally. I think it had some great stuff going for it, and I am absolutely delighted with certain elements of it, which I'm sure a lot of people will also be very delighted. But I'm disappointed in a few places as well. So the best way to do is, I guess, kind of break that down and talk about that, my initial reactions. And similar to Flux, when I watched that, there will be a full in-depth review, about 40 minutes or so, on my podcast, Spill Your Beans, which will be coming out during the week. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Follow the link in the description, and you'll find, the podcast page where you can check out all the other podcasts on there already. So yeah, Eve of the Daleks. It's an interesting one. I think it tries to balance a lot. And what I will say is the concept is really strong. I really like the idea. I'm a big fan of the film Groundhog Day. I like the Daleks, so I'm sort of keen to see where that was going to go. At least when I started the episode, I was kind of like, yeah, this can work. This has a lot going for it. And there were certain elements that I really liked. I liked the idea that the minute was like less every time, so they had less and less time to do stuff. It did mean that the episode was quite complicated on my end. Maybe I'm just being dumb, but I was like, I had to really pay attention to certain bits, because okay, I feel like if I missed that one line of exposition, then I don't understand the last whole. But yeah, no, I think the concept was really strong. I think the characters were really interesting. They didn't over-cram it. One thing Doctor Who does tend to do, especially with Flux, was to sort of over-cram it with a lot of characters, and then some characters don't get their time to shine. I think everyone in this episode got their time to shine, other than probably maybe like Dan, who got some great moments, but in terms of his own character, didn't get much to do, which is fine, but, that's what it is. I think, as per, let's just move straight to talking about the characters of this episode, starting, of course, with Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. I always sort of start out and go, oh, Jodie Whittaker was great in this episode, as she always is. I thought Jodie Whittaker was okay in this episode. I thought like there was a lot there, but I have to admit, like, I absolutely love her Doctor in a lot of different episodes in a lot of different ways. But what this episode kind of brought for me was this kind of feeling of, yeah, I can, like, I'm not feeling this as like one of her last big performances. Like David Tennant's third last episode was Waters of Mars, for example. It's like, this just feels kind of like another one. And like, I like it, don't get me wrong, but it's, the sort of speeches about like friendship and teamwork and success, they had that little moment which was cool, but it just, I couldn't help but sit there and be a bit like, I don't know about that. Like, I'm a little bit like, yeah, like, it works for a lot of it, but then, like, one bit, just, I don't know, it's slightly iffy for me. But, on the whole, Jodie Whittaker's always great with this sort of stuff. She can handle some poor dialogue, but when dialogue is in a certain way, and it gives her less to do, she kind of sometimes doesn't excel, and this is just one of those cases where I feel like Jodie's character as the Doctor here just didn't really have that demeanour that I would hope for in the Doctor. Sometimes she's excellent, and sometimes she really gets it. I think especially when there's high risk, this episode had a lot of high risks, a lot of people who could very much die. I think there needed to be a proper, like, stand moment where 13 really makes that move, and I feel like she had that in Revolution of the Daleks. She had that in Resolution. Kind of, where was it here? The Daleks are still that sort of threat. And, like, I do love this, don't get me wrong, but it did feel very independent, like very disconnected from everything else that's going on, other than Flux, obviously, which was like, okay, the Flux is the reason why the TARDIS is stuffed, and that's how they do the time loop, and the Daleks are after the Doctor again because of that. But I feel like the whole thing kind of came together in a story that didn't give Jodie more to do, and I'm a bit disappointed with that, because I feel like I've come out of it going, well, 13 did her thing, but like, I really wanted like a Waters of Mars kind of thing, not to that level, because it was never going to be that level, but I was kind of hoping for something big and bombastic and like, I am the Doctor, I'm the, that sort of powerful, moving kind of speech segment, which we come to sort of expect with Doctor Who a little bit, especially when it comes to all-time villains like the Daleks, and especially when it comes close to a Doctor's regeneration as well. So yeah, it can't always work, but for me this time, for Jodie, like, she did a great job with a lot of stuff. Sometimes I just kind of was like, yeah, it's okay, He's okay. I just wish it's more in the script, really, I think. Let's talk about Yaz. And how absolutely overwhelmingly delighted I am with what they finally confirmed in this episode, that Yaz has a bit of a crush on the Doctor. I'm delighted because of, not my own, but, personal, connections and stuff. I think it's great to give Yaz more of a character, personality after so long. I think that's a great thing. But I also know a lot of fans in the community. It means a lot to them. And it's nice to see it. I'm happy to see that developed on screen, because not only I enjoy that story, but I think it does mean a lot for so many people in the Doctor Who community. And it was so great that they were able to realise that and do something with it and start to tease at it. Too little too late? Who knows? We'll soon find out, because there's 2 more episodes to go until Jodie regenerates and Yaz leaves for pretty much good. So, fingers crossed, wait and see. It's probably going to be one of those kind of tragic things. I wish they'd sort of hinted at this more in Series 13. There was a few hints, people picked up on them, but it's not, confirmed. It's not, official. It's not set in stone until this episode, where Dan, who basically plays kind of the audience in this perspective, just jumps in and goes, does she know how you actually feel? It's and then talking to Jodie and being like, hey, she likes you, right? I mean, it's cool, and I like that, and I'm glad they confirmed it, and I'm hoping the payoff is good, because I have to admit, I was sat with this episode going, yeah, it's fine. It is what it is. It's a classic run-around Dalek story, and it does its job. And then when this moment happened between Dan and Yaz, I was like, finally they're doing that. That's amazing. I went straight to Twitter. I was like, this is such a good scene. I really am so happy they've managed to actually confirm this and do something with this and make it an emotional, impactful scene about Yaz's character. And I'm so glad they've done it. I'm just hoping it's not too late. And I'm hoping that this was the plan, and it wasn't just because of fan feedback. I'm hoping that there was an actual idea here to sort of splice this in. It was clearly hinted at a tiny bit in Series 12 with one line of dialogue, and a couple times in Series 13 with the way she sort of goes on. But I'm glad to see it getting explored more in this episode, and I'm so excited to see where that's going to go in the Easter special, and of course the Centenary special as well, which will probably be very tragic when the Master's involved and the Regeneration's involved and all that sort of stuff, so that'll be traumatic, I'm sure. But the best part of this episode for me was the reveal that Yaz has a bit of a thing for the Doctor, and maybe there's something sexuality-wise to explore there, We've of course had LGBT characters before in Doctor Who, we've had LGBT companions before in Doctor Who, but the way the dialogue sort of played around here is maybe Yaz sort of wasn't sure how to express these feelings, whether it's because of, her attraction to 13, or whether it's just generally never had really much of a crush on someone. Either way, it's a different kind of dynamic that we've not seen in Doctor Who before, and I'm delighted that they're using Doctor Who to explore this as well, because that's good, giving characters something to do, and giving them actual realistic stories and all that sort of thing is exciting, and I'm glad they're doing it. Dan was solid in this, but I kind of played the audience in this, sort of when he's talking to Yaz or when he's talking to 13. I think Dan's going to be one of those guys who I like, but we don't really know much about. He still doesn't have a home, it's cool that he's travelling with the Doctor, but again, it's a bit too late. I was kind of he didn't really do too much in Series 13 for me, and then with this, I'm sort of I love the guy. I actually prefer him a little bit to Ryan, weirdly. But then it comes to the actual content of it, and I'm I still don't feel he's got much of a character when you compare to classics like, Clara or Amy or Rose or Martha or Donna. There's so many characters there who have so much more going for them. And the same could apply to Yaz, but at least Yaz is getting some stuff now, which is great. But yeah, no, we'll see where it goes. Fingers crossed he gets a little bit more to do in the next couple episodes. The side characters were great. Aisling B is a phenomenal comedic actress, and she does an absolutely brilliant job with this episode. Even some of the clunky dialogue is kind of performed quite well, and it still makes it quite funny and impactful. The guy who I can't remember the name off the top of my head, my apologies. It's okay. He was given a few dodgy lines of dialogue. I mean, the ex-Terminate line, it's it's stuff like that where I'm oh, come on. I know Chibnall era comedy can be hit and or miss. this is definitely like a perfect example of that, because some of it was funny, some of it just did not land at all. So there we go. I mean, this character unfortunately got a lot of the dud lines, but you know, he was cool. It was fun. It was a nice romantic thing between them two as well. It felt very realistic, very sort of normal as well, which I quite like. Having characters show up for an episode, feel really developed and normal, and have characters and personalities, and then they go. It's quite sad a little bit, because if people like A's and B, who are very, very talented, come in, almost kind of steal the show for the episode, and then leave, it's like, wow, you know, I wish we had, you know, other characters who could have that same sort of impact and effect, but, you know, it is what it is. And the Daleks were great in this. I love everyone predicting Davros was going to be in this and all that sort of thing. You know, it was a very interesting one, because it was a lot smaller of a scale in terms of Dalek stories, which feels odd compared to the last few years and series we've had. It seems odd that they decided to do something in a warehouse, and it was a cool concept, don't get me wrong, but I couldn't help but watch this episode and feel a little bit like, oh, this is definitely an episode that's been made on the cheap, with a couple of Dalek props and like a storage facility, like a warehouse. I mean, it's all right. It's not a bad thing, but it was like, oh, they're not really doing much with this, which makes me hope that next time with the Sea Devils, amazing to be able to say that, they're going to be pumping a lot more budget into that, which hopefully will be quite exciting, but we will wait and see. I don't think I've got much more I want to say about this episode, really, in terms of initial reactions. I think I had a lot going on with this one. I liked some of it, the rest of it kind of was a bit dull, so it's kind of a bit of both for me. Let me know what you thought, though, in the comments below, and obviously check out my full in-depth review on the podcast, which is also linked in the description and in the comments below as well. You can check that out during the week, and yeah, that'll basically be it. I think that's all I really want to say about this. It had a lot going for it, but in places wasn't perfect, and that's absolutely fine. I think in terms of the Dalek special so far, this is probably my least favourite, but I do have a soft spot for it because of what it does for Yaz's character, finally confirming those details, and finally kind of doing something that isn't just confirming it, but actually developing it and using it as a character trait, and actually something that's engaging for the audience. Love it. But yeah, that's basically it from me. In the meantime, I'm probably going to try and upload some more stuff on the channel throughout the year. I do sometimes live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/gbsheard, so if you want to keep up with some content, I will be on there as well. And in terms of videos, I might be posting stuff throughout the year, but in terms of Doctor Who reviews, the next new one will be around the Easter special, whenever that eventually comes out. Legend of the Sea Devils, I think it is. So yeah, see you all soon, and have a lovely day. Happy New Year. Yeah, see you all later. Bye-bye.